So Gator Squad has been together for about 3 years. Before me and Chris were working together, Chris was doing it solo. He has over like 20 years of experience working with alligators, and I came along and we've been together about 3 or 4 years. And it's been working great together. We go out, we catch alligators together, we do educational events together, and when we're not together, of course, we catch on our own if a call does come in.
So a common question that's asked a lot is how many alligators do we catch in a year? And how many we catch is really completely dependent on the conditions of a given year. Last year was definitely our busiest, and we caught upwards of about 150 alligators last year, and which was in 2016, 2015, maybe upwards of 100. This year we're in 2017, and we'll probably do considerably less than last year, just because alligators are cyclical. Some years they have more babies and more eggs, and as a result, when those become mature, you're going to have more alligators in those years. But I would say a good average for us from our contracted properties and the calls that we get is probably going to be in the neighborhood of 100 alligators per year.
Yeah, so not only do we catch alligators, now that's one of the main focuses that we do, and that's the adrenaline part of our job, and that's what we love to do, is going out in the wild and catching these alligators. But every day we don't get an alligator call, so what do we do in our off time? We have a lot of properties that we actually manage, and on those properties we go out there, a couple days out of the month, we drive around, make sure our alligators are being well behaved. If they're not, we'll go ahead and we'll take some out. But we also do a lot of educational events. We'll go into schools, we'll go into church groups, and we'll take baby alligators and we'll teach people alligator safety, as well as, what to do if you see an alligator. I also like to go and talk to girls groups and let girls know that, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. Don't think just because it's a guy job or there's more guys doing it that you being a girl, you can't do that. No. I try to inspire young girls that you can do whatever you set your mind to. So we do a lot of educational events and a lot of just managing our properties that we do besides catching.
Yeah, and in the managing the properties, to expand a little, it's all about conservation, coexistence strategies, proactive management to ensure that we don't have negative incidents with our residents and our alligators. We keep the alligators and the people both behaving by teaching the people the rules and teaching the alligators the rules. And yeah, alligators are smart and they'll learn the rules, and people are always the problem. It's almost never the gators, sometimes a lost one here and there, but people are always the problem. And that's why we use our safety seminars, to where we get out into these neighborhoods and we teach and preach safety, which is coexistence. Stay away, don't feed. Stay away, don't feed. Stay away, don't feed. Stay away, don't feed. That's really what we have to teach people over and over and over again. Because if they don't feed the alligators, they won't become naughty. You feed a naughty alligator, it starts approaching people for food on a pretty regular basis. And then it won't eat the snakes and the rats and the other sort of food sources that are naturally available, because it's getting chicken nuggets and handouts. So we go in to our neighborhoods and use our safety seminars on a regular basis in our contracted areas. And we also use platforms like Christy has a radio show and the internet and other social media forums where we're constantly preaching and teaching safety, how we can live with these apex predators without having any bad incidents.
Yeah, so I would say what sets Gator Squad apart from other alligator catchers in the United States is our education. Our platform is education, teaching people about these amazing animals. And a lot of alligator catchers, even here in Texas, when they get a call to go catch an alligator, they see dollar signs. They think they're going to go out there, kill this alligator, and then sell it for its skin and meat. Where me and Chris, when we get a call, we think, okay, how are we going to keep this alligator in the wild? Of course, when we get on scene, we'll evaluate the situation. And if that alligator can't stay in the wild, of course we'll take it. But our main priority is always the alligator. So I think basically what sets us apart is, we're not out there looking to make a couple bucks. We're not out there to actually catch an alligator. We are more focused on the alligator's safety and the alligator's well-being, and how can we teach people to leave these alligators alone.
Everything's bigger in Texas, right? Even the alligators, especially the alligators. Who hadn't seen Gator Girl wrestle Godzilla in Home Depot parking lot, or Chubbs yank the rope through her hands? And those are 12.5-foot alligators, and they have those all across the Gulf Coast. So that's a little bit of a joke. Alligators in Texas aren't any more aggressive, and they're not any bigger than they occur everywhere else along the Gulf Coast. The state record in Texas is 14.4, and almost all the big boys that get that big, their attitudes are really neat, and they're laid-back animals. One of the neatest animals I've ever been around in my entire life, of all the animals I could pick, would be Godzilla. I was around him for 5 days when he was in the back of my truck until the farmer could get back, and we had conversations and talking, and that was such a neat experience and a neat animal. And Chubbs was another one.
Yeah.
So they're not more aggressive in Texas, and actually they're really not aggressive at all toward people unless they fear barriers have been broken down with food, and or you're approaching them during mating season. It's their natural instinct to protect their pond, their girls, or their habitat from, goofy white people or polar bears or other alligators or whatever. They're just acting on their instincts. So no, they're definitely not more aggressive in Texas overall as a species. They're very non-aggressive, opportunistic based animals. But, hey, the stories are bigger in Texas. Look at Gator Girl.
So, how many staff members does Gator Squad have? Well, 1, 2. I only see 2 staff members. So, yes, Gator Squad only has 2 full-time staff members, and we are both licensed alligator trappers by the state of Texas. Now, we do have some help here and there. We have some great volunteers that come on. They'll help us go out and catch alligators. A lot of cops and other police departments will come, and they'll help us if we need help. My mom and dad, they help out a lot too if we need, help in the middle of the night or those early morning hours. But basically, it's just me and Gator Chris. We are the team. We're the team. We're the staff. We're the family member. This is Gator Squad's our baby. We built this thing from the ground up, and we're gonna see it to the end. And we work really well together. And some people, they can't hang. We've brought on a lot of people to try to help out. We've also brought on other licensed trappers to help us out. But their mission and their mindset is totally different than ours, and if someone's not on the same page as us, we're not going to be around them either, because we're all about safety and education, and we have to do what works best in our communities and our area. So Gator Squad is just made up of 2, me and Gator Chris, and we are the full-time staff members and part owners of Gator Squad.
The oddest place that we've ever caught an alligator. I don't know. That's swimming pools is an odd place for an alligator to be, but it's kind of a regular occurrence in Fort Bend County. Lift stations, pump stations,
under cars, golf courses.
Yeah, they get themselves.
Oh, the runway, the airport runway.
Airport runway was an odd location to get an alligator. Cement factories. Anywhere along the Gulf Coast, we have a little bit of waterway you can have an alligator move itself into. We've also, the oddest place, I guess I would say, was a cement factory in the poisoned water.
Yeah.
Where we had the poor gator, about a 5-foot gator that was living in water, that had no life, green slime, nasty conditions, but he had a food source. People were feeding him at lunch every day, so he stayed there. The boss ultimately got wind of this after a few weeks, called in Gator Squad. We went and got the animal, and he died within 12 hours of us getting that animal out of there because he was so full of poisons. He started throwing up and aspirating the food, and it was very odd for an alligator to live in poison, but the reason was because of the food source. If they have an easy food source, they're going to stay and make very bad decisions for their own safety and for the sake of people. So we've caught them in all kind of crazy locations, and backyards and swimming pools and airport runways, and you name it, Gator Squad has been there catching alligators and will continue to do so.
Yes. So some of the dangerous situations that we've been in, to us, we've done this so long that we don't see the situations as really dangerous because we really know what we're doing. We know the strengths, we know the weaknesses of the animal, we know not to overpush ourselves, and we know each other has our backs and that we're looking out for each other. But some of the dangerous, more dangerous situations, I guess, would be in swimming pools when we actually enter the water and we're swimming with these guys, or entering the big bodies of ponds and the lakes and stuff that we have out here to catch alligators. I mean, there's a lot of times Chris goes in that water and he's, up to his shoulders, and all I see is just a little head floating above the water, and I'm trying to watch him, and I'm trying to watch the alligator, make sure another one doesn't sneak up on him. There was one time when we got, a female alligator out of the pond, and I had my back turned to the water, and we're taping her up, and Chris is getting his fishing pole ready because we have to get the bigger male out. Well, when Chris turned around, the alligator, the big male's coming right at me because the female alligator's crying, saying, hey, help me, help me. And he's coming right at me. I'm here, and here comes the alligator. And Chris turned around in the nick of time, and he's like, Christy, watch out! And I turn around, this alligator's coming straight for me. I had to pick up the other alligator and leave that situation because that bigger alligator was coming to help his girlfriend. So there's crazy situations, especially if you have to be underneath the car with an untaped alligator. So you have the car, you have an untaped alligator, then you have, right here facing this alligator. The alligator could lunge at you and your instinct is to stand up and leave, but you're under a car and you can't do that. So you have to belly crawl in and out of that situation. So there's a lot of crazy situations and a lot of dangerous situations, but we do this so much that we really don't see it as dangerous because we totally trust each other and we know that the other one has our best interests at heart and is going to look out for us. Especially, we know these alligators and we know their moves before they even make their moves. But again, from an outsider looking in, there are a lot of dangerous situations that we get in, but it's all about staying focused and just getting in and getting the job done.
So anybody looking to become an alligator hunter, any advice I would have to give them? I think the first piece of advice I would give them is pray and get close to Jesus, because this is a job where you want to be right with your creator, whoever that may be, every single day, because you do not know what's going to happen. You are putting yourself out there, both life and limb and liberty, for the sake of the animals. So it really has to be something that you want to do from within yourself, is to make a change and a difference. It can't be for the money, because it's impossible to make any money.
You don't make no money with animals.
No, you can kill them and sell them, and you can do that so long and make a little bit of money, but nobody wants to see that. So our way has been through proactive conservation management, and it's really tough. I mean, we make it, we get by, but we struggle with the expenses that we need on an ongoing basis. So is it a career path that I would tell somebody it's lucrative and they should get into? No, it's not going to happen that way. The care and this kill and scare method used throughout the Texas Gulf Coast, and then the farmed alligators kind of drive the prices down. They fluctuate every year, so you can't depend on even the meat and the hides if that's your method. We do it through conservation, coexistence, and education, which enables us to kind of keep moving forward and make it day by day. We're hoping through some other means that we can get bigger and keep growing the message. But the advice I have for anybody wanting to get into it is decide this is something you really want to do for the right reasons, for teaching, for conservation, for education, and spend some time getting to know the animal one-on-one, however that may be possible. If you're really that interested, contact Christy or myself, and we'll get you in front of some alligators and decide if that's really what you want to do with your time.
Yeah, you have to have true heart to do it. Your heart has to be in the right place, because catching alligators, especially in Texas in the middle of summer, you're out there in 100 degrees weather, the humidity in these Texas swamps, and mosquitoes are horrible. They're huge mosquitoes.
Ants.
Yeah, oh gosh, there's one time I was going to catch an alligator, and I actually had the alligator. His mouth is open. I'm dragging him. I step in an ant pile. I swear that ant pile went up to my knee. But of course, I couldn't stop and dust the ants off because I have an untaped alligator at my shoe, so I had to just keep trucking. But you have to have true heart. Your heart has to be in the right place. You have to want to help both animal and people, and not just think it's cool that you're catching an alligator. You really have to be in the right place if you're going to do this. It's a lot of hard work. And plus you can't think too big of yourself, because if you get, too high head, then that's when mistakes happen. You have to really stay focused on why.
And Gator Girl has brought a lot of press and publicity to the animal, to conservation, through coexistence, and she's used what she could have taken personally and spun it into the good of the animal, which has really been phenomenal for Texas Parks and Wildlife Conservation. And at the same time, a lot of people want to do it because they see the news stories and see those things that happen, but guys, she's the only one. Look at all the alligator catchers across the Gulf Coast. There's several hundred probably or more, and she's the only one on a regular occurrence making the news, doing what she's doing. So you certainly don't want to get into it to try to get a name for yourself, because Gator Girl's got that wrapped up.
Yeah, and if you go in there thinking you're going to get really well known about it, people are going to see right through that. Yeah. So you could tell the fake from the real, and if you're doing this, you have to be real, 100%, heart in it.
Yeah, and learn the animals. We know the animals inside and out. We can tell when they're fixing the charge. We can tell when they're going to go on the aggressive, the offensive, the defensive, and we can catch these 800-pound beasts with hands and ropes because we know the animals and we trust each other and we know the animals. So without that experience, without the day-to-day interaction with alligators, we'd be putting ourselves more on, and life and liberty would be at risk, but it's not that way because we do know the animals and work with them and have a great team together. Is that the last one together?
That's it. Yay!
Peace.